comes from Invitae. On average, over 27,000 Americans are expected to be diagnosed with breast cancer each month. At Invitae, we believe that's 27,000 too many. That's why we're helping more people take control of their health through medical genetic testing. We look at every gene linked to breast cancer, not just BRCA1 and 2, to give you the confidence to make better health decisions for your future. Learn more and order your kit today at Invitae.com. That's INVITAE.com.
Hi, this is Matt Gallagher. You're listening to Storybound.
Welcome to Storybound, presented by LitHub Radio and the Podglomerate. I'm your host, Jude Brewer. Coming up in 1 minute is a story told by Matt Gallagher with original composition by Colin Hogan of the Colin Trio. Also be sure to stick around until after the credits to learn more behind the scenes about how this episode was made. Let's begin. Growing up, I would always carry a book around, my own private invisible world full of new discoveries. These days, whether it's the weekend or my lunch break, I'll stop by Powell's Books and see what's new on the front shelves, read employee recommendations. That's one of my favorite things about Powell's, the personal touch. Powell's Books is the world's largest family-owned independent bookstore. With over 2 million new and used volumes across 5 Portland area stores and their website, powells.com, book lovers of all persuasions can find exactly what they're looking for, or discover something new, wonderful, and unexpected. Come hear your favorite authors read at one of Powell's 500-plus free in-store events each year, or check out original essays and interviews on the Powell's blog. Visit powells.com and use coupon code STORYBOUND for 20% off your next purchase of $25 or more. Available only at powells.com. That's 20% off your next purchase of $25 or more. Just enter promo code STORYBOUND.
This episode is brought to you by PNC Bank. Do you know why some experts say real estate is at a tipping point? What about whether or not solar panels are a good investment when trying to sell a home? Or how the upcoming wave of millennials will change the housing market forever? At PNC Bank, we know real estate is never done changing. Every day there seems to be a new technology or trend that completely changes the game, and it's increasingly more important for agents and their clients to stay on top of it all. Luckily, there's PNC Agent Alliance. It has everything a real estate agent needs to support their clients on their home buying journey, like complimentary webinars and events that let you get helpful advice from industry leaders, or the PNC Real Estate Newsfeed, which is a curated list of articles updated daily on topics from local insights to home selling tips. It's all online and at no cost to you. Go to pnc.com/Agent Alliance. PNC Bank, National Association, member FDIC. PNC is an equal housing lender.
No one drank more than the scientist. Every night, after whatever patriotic black-tie gala we played props at, he could be found at the hotel bar, trying to extract existential meaning from a banana colada. It was an odd drink choice for such a serious man, but only once did he respond to our interrogations about it.
Of all drinks in New Tulsa, why banana colada?
I asked.
It pleases the nerve fibers.
All baritone to his voice, before disappearing into the chilled yellow muck again. We were in New Tulsa, debriefing after a grueling dinner with a bunch of white-haired solar energy execs. We'd been on the road for months, and morale had gone the way of the glacier. I ordered a round for the table, and we toasted to the hustle. Heroes of the nation, peddling war bonds by day, drinking like frou-frous by night. Our drill instructors would not have been proud. There were 11 of us on the bond drive, 12 if you included the Jungerbot. The Forever War had just entered its 6th decade, and our politicians didn't pretend they were going to end it anymore, even during elections. They couldn't. We tried everything. Nation building, nation destroying, sending terrorists and their families to the Mars penal colony, sending the insurgent young Siberians to actual Siberia. Nothing had worked. We were at war because we always had been. We were at war because we always would be. We were at war because we were at war. The government decided to celebrate the Forever War's golden anniversary with loud, shiny bombast. We were part of that bombast. America's heroes, together at last, went the tagline. We were like a roving variety act, but without name recognition, or singing, or sex appeal. Without anything, really. Just past wiped clean with the antiseptic of narrative. So we stood there and smiled and waved, while other people told our stories to the crowds. The crowds cheered. We waved again. After the coladas, I settled the tab and excused myself. The younger vet's night was just beginning, but mine was nearing its end. In the queue for the teleporter to the rooms, a man about my age waited behind me. He wore a rumpled dress shirt and an overlong tie, and a goatee on the brink of coherence. He was looking everywhere but my hover chair. People with legs always do that. It reminds me of the way some men used to try very hard not to look at my cleavage when I was younger. The effort just underlines the fixation.
Thank you,
He said.
for what you did.
Thank you for your support.
A response as hollow as it was practiced. He must have been at the event earlier.
Can I tell you something?
Sure.
Women in military uniforms have this effect on men in dress shirts for some reason.
If you'd like to.
I wanted to be a recon Marine when I was a kid.
He said it like it was a church confession, something hidden away in the lost fissures of his soul for decades.
Did the recon workout at the gym for years. Stupid, I know.
I nodded, both because it was stupid and because I knew.
But you're a bona fide hero.
The man's segue was as graceful as a startled dog.
That scientist, though, he's killing people, and not just the enemy.
I thought about the man's words. They were true enough.
So what would you do if you were him?
Me?
The man stroked his goatee.
I wouldn't even know.
Pragmatically. You're the scientist. You live in this country. The war's happening. You can maybe end it or not. Either way, people die. What do you do?
I object to the question and to the idea. I'm not him.
The man's voice had a quiver to it now. Not an angry quiver either. A frightened one.
I was just saying, I don't think it's right. That's all.
Okay. Night.
It was my turn at the teleporter. I got in and went to my room. I didn't begrudge the man his opting out. We all had in some way. Even us. Especially us. I was on my 7th year of an indefinite visit, still sleeping in a bare guest room. A potted flower or framed picture would have felt like marks of permanence somehow. I'd been living in increments since high school and wasn't about to stop just because I couldn't figure out what to do with the rest of my life. We, lived at the top of a windy hill in a suburb of a suburb, wedged between a stand of wild honeysuckle and a pond shaped like a swollen nose. It was green and quiet. The kind of place where big flags hung from porches with humility. I taught painting at the community center and took my nieces to soccer practice and spent my Saturday nights at the one towny bar that served rosé. The life didn't make me happy or anything, but it could have. Maybe should have. The Federals had found me at my sister's, on the porch, scrolling through a holopad article about the rabid lemur that had killed Justin Bieber Jr. "Furious George howls with delight," read the headline. It's always spooky when sons die the same way their fathers did. The past grasps us all, eventually. Even Bieber's. There were 3 of them. They all wore jeans and plaid shirts of varying blandness. I'd have expected suits and black sunglasses, but the decaying effects of After Empire were reaching and vast.
Chief Warrant Officer Valerie Spear?
One said. Asked. I didn't look my part either. Female veterans tend to cut a certain mold. A liter-sized pixie in a gardening hat wasn't it. They told me about the bond drive, about how it would inspire patriotism again in the hearts and minds of the people, about how it would get everyday citizens invested in the wars again. Like they ever were. I knew the history. About how the government needed the money, how 50 years of blowing up things in strange, faraway places had taken its toll on the budget, especially since the geothermal uprising in Blue Russia began eating away at Uncle Sam's foreign trade. about how the bond drive needed a woman on it, because they had an old guy, a Blexican, a Mexipino, and a robot, and showing that heroes were as diverse as the country mattered. I danced my metal fingers through the air. In the right light, my prosthetics could look like flesh. We weren't in it.
A woman. Oh, that's why you need me.
That made the two men in jeans and plaid look down at the ground, but the woman fed just stared at me.
You're Valerie Spear.
The tone in her voice sounded so earnest, it snapped.
Do you know what you mean to my generation of women? I joined the agency because of you.
She was lying about that, I was almost sure. But she'd appealed to my pride. I danced my fingers through the air again and took in all the green, all the quiet. 7 years here. 7 years that had made me soft. Did people my age go on adventures anymore? I asked about financial compensation. Here's the thing about being labeled a war hero. You either love it or hate it. There's little space for mixed feelings. Take the scientist. Invented a drone mosquito that gives people the runs, sold it to the military, and stopped the Arabican conflict practically overnight. You can't fire a rifle when you're crapping out your brains. But some of the mosquitoes weren't as precise as build. During strafes, they bit enemies and civilians alike, which wouldn't have mattered much had we been fighting in the developed world. We weren't, though. Outbreaks of dysentery and super cholera followed, and the last UN estimate I saw numbered deaths in the tens of thousands. The scientist had ended a war, all with his mind. Yet the only thing he wanted in the world was to return to his lab, to his anonymity, and forget any of it had ever happened. The Jungerbot seemed to resent the attention for other reasons. It didn't know what to make of the people, and truth be told, people didn't know what to make of it. They could handle robots, had been dealing with them all their lives. Even the rough-and-tumble behavior of a regular infantry bot could be explained away. But an elite infantry bot 5000, upgraded with the transcendental courage and philosophical musings of decorated German World War I soldier Ernst Junger? That caused some issues.
The Anarch wages his own wars,
The Jungerbot said at a fundraiser to a journalist who'd asked if it missed battle.
even when marching in rank and file.
Before a boxing prize fight, the Jungerbot felt it necessary to remind the crowd what was what.
Trench fighting is the bloodiest, wildest, and most brutal of all.
It said to 70,000 drunk revelers in Vegas.
Of all the war's exciting moments, none is so powerful as the meeting of two stormtroop leaders between narrow trench walls. There's no mercy there, no going back. The blood speaks from a shrill cry of recognition that tears itself from one's breast like a nightmare. And
then there were the children. It told a 10-year-old with a Jungerbot poster on its wall that killing an adversary would be a finer tribute. And when a bank president's little girl pointed to us and asked if we were heroes, the Jungerbot objected, as only it could.
Heroes' deeds and heroes' graves. Old and new, you here may see. How the Empire was created. How the Empire was preserved. We sought the death of heroes. There is no lovelier death in the world.
The little girl's face paled to glass as her father led her away. We all laughed about it. No one harder or longer than Dizzy. Dizzy was a walking, talking argument for breeding the remaining cis males out of the gene pool. If only he hadn't been so pretty. Drone pilots. They think they're so starfish because they can laser insurrectionists dead from space. And Dizzy was an ace. He adored every minute of the bond drive. The attention, the parties, the hoverfloat rides. The certain type of female patriot who wanted to see the view from his hotel balcony.
Beats going back to Pueblo and coaching CrossFit,
He'd say, before unleashing that smile of full fluoride shine. God, he could charm the magic underwear off a Mormon. Would try, at least. Dizzy and the younger vets on the bond drive were all privateers. Mercenaries, if you're the protesting virtual petition type. Warrior Corps and Foreign Legion Inc. and Armed Humanitarianism Limited, and the like. I was hybrid. Part contractor, but also part national military, before that went extinct during the Whig Revolt of '36. Only Emo Carlos was old enough to have been a GI from the beginning to end. He'd earned the Silver Star in the Iraq War. Well, the Iraq War before the last one. Maybe it was 3 Iraq Wars ago. Anyhow, we asked Emo Carlos about it over sushi, after a parade in Cleveland.
Jumped on a grenade at a checkpoint,
he said, setting down his chopsticks with a shrug.
Didn't go off.
We hollered and banged the table just because we could. It'd been a couple decades since anything but a bot had been close enough to a grenade to do anything like that. Even the Jungerbot expressed its admiration.
Defective.
Emo Carlos nodded.
1 in a million, they said.
What happened then?
The creases in Emo Carlos's forehead folded into one another like paper mache. He usually never talked about anything but drumming for his old man punk band. They'd served together back in the day, and were known across the greater Rochester area as the Infidels. Geriatric humor.
Stood up, dusted off, looked down. Realized I'd pissed myself.
We hollered and banged the table all over again. An elderly couple came over to us later. They'd overheard our conversation and wanted to say thank you. They said they had 2 grandsons in privateer training.
I know our thanks is a small thing,
the husband said,
but sometimes it's all those of us here can offer.
He and his wife looked so cute in their nice old people clothes, khakis and sweaters and thick-rimmed glasses. They looked like other people's grandparents always look. The wife nodded.
We're all involved. We believe that. As taxpayers, as citizens, that's how it is. We're with you.
We thanked them for thanking us, and they left the restaurant.
What did she mean, we're all involved?
Dizzy asked.
No, they're not.
There were echoes of agreement and discussion over what the old woman had meant, and not just about the word involved, also about the word we.
Yo,
Emo Carlos said. The table hushed.
They're from my time, when wars had ends, when citizens tried to keep up. America used to be young. That's what she meant.
Then say that. Taxes? Who the fuck cares?
Emo Carlos shook his head again. He was trying to clear himself of frustrations, either with himself or with us. Then he pointed at me.
Sent it to the damn moon. Supposed to save us all. Putting the wars up there. Preserve the land and resources. Eliminate civilian deaths. Be tidy and simple. That was the plan.
And no one ever went back. The game changed.
Well, military lesson numero uno, son. No plan survives first contact.
The rest of us laughed along with the old wisdom. Everyone but the scientist, who sat off by himself in the corner. He looked up at us with something between sadness and fury. It was hard to decide which.
Tidy and simple. I like that.
You are listening to Storybound. And now for a short break.
Are you curious what making money for your healthcare organization sounds like? Listen carefully.
Thanks for coming in.
Feeling better?
Let's look at your x-ray.
We'll get that scheduled for next Tuesday. That's the sound of your staff working with all the information they need. Partner with Athena Health to gain easier access to information and data, even from outside practices, labs, and hospitals. With the most interoperable network in healthcare, you won't feel like you're working in a silo anymore.
Welcome back.
That's a good sound. Athena Health, state of the smart.
This episode is brought to you by Microsoft Surface.